I remember back in the day when I thought spiritual work was letting things roll off your back, not really feeling things too much, and letting people just be themselves, leaving them alone. So this got difficult when people started to come to retreats or come to medicine work, and yeah, this job is part of having to say the difficult stuff. And when you have to have those conversations, at least for me in the beginning, it was really difficult. Double Libra doesn't like to ruffle feathers, and had to come up and have difficult conversations with people, and I'd be flooded with butterflies in the belly. So yeah, here we go. Navel chakra. This area, how do we bring it into balance? How do we understand it? How do we maximize its potential? And this is what I want to share with you today. So this is part 3 in a series of 8 different videos, and that will basically go through in detail how to balance all the different energy centers. And if you don't know if your energy center is either congested, got too much energy, or depleted, not enough energy, please go back and see my videos on 1 and 2 on how to measure the chakras to get a diagnosis of how to move forward when I give some detail in the later video about how to deal with either case. So the navel center is located right exactly at the navel point. Now in yogic theory with the 7 chakras, they call this Manipura. And basically it's kind of like in the middle of the torso region somewhere, and it's not really like, some people say it's just above the navel point, some people say it's at the solar plexus. Well, I'm going to distinguish between these 2 points and actually both give them their own center during these videos. So today will be about the navel, the next video is going to be about the solar plexus. What's really the major difference is a lot of the same emotional things are tied into this area because it's really our center, our core. But the difference is being that the solar plexus and navel can control slightly different things in the physical body, which I'll detail. So what does the navel control? The navel really governs the whole intestinal system, basically the lower half of it. So we're talking about not necessarily the stomach and the liver and the gallbladder, that's more the upper with the solar plexus, but more the small and large intestine and the appendix. So if we've got issues there, then we know there's something going on with the navel. Also too, it's connected with our sense of vitality. So in conjunction with the root chakra, which I usually check if someone's got low vitality, usually these two go in, well, conjunction, let's say, if there's an issue going on where someone has a really hard time moving, getting out of bed, feeling like they have life force. So I would look there as well. Also too, for women when they're giving birth, if the energy in this center is low, childbirth can be prolonged and difficult. So it's really nice for women just about to go into birth to get nice energizing there, obviously from a trained professional who knows what they're doing, because every time you work with a child, you have to use certain frequencies and be very careful. So just that disclaimer. So what happens if this area is not functioning properly on a physical level? Well, yeah, anything to do with your intestines. From constipation where nothing's moving to its opposite where you have loose bowel movements and gas and everything's just not functioning very well. Appendicitis here, obviously. Any kind of intestinal ailment. Also too, our metabolism is connected here because we connect this area with fire, and if there's not a lot of fire to eat and digest food, it can take a long time for us to metabolize, and vice versa. If we've got too much, everything just goes through us really quick. Okay. Also too, our relationship with food. So eating disorders, which really ties in a lot with how we feel about ourselves emotionally, which I'm going to lead into, also affected here if we've got imbalance in this center. So on an emotional level, as I mentioned, our sense of self, our sense of feeling confident, like we can stand up for ourselves when we don't like what's happening. We don't just try to be a people pleaser, these sorts of things, you know? So really our ability to establish boundaries and maintain our boundaries and fight for our boundaries is here in the navel center. Obviously our willpower as well. We say we're going to do something, do we do it? Well, this also is connected with the root because when we say something and we don't do it, both centers collapse. So I'm also always super careful about what I promise to people, because if I say, yeah, I'll do that, and then I don't do it, everything collapses. So I always make promises as much as I can that I know that I can keep, and never over-promising. Okay, so once you've measured the center and you can see it's either depleted, there's not enough energy, or there's too much, what do you do? So if the center is depleted, there's not enough energy going there. So again, this is how do we manifest this, or what does this look like? Again, people pleaser. Okay, yeah, anything you like, sure, sure. How can I help you? And giving, 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 giving. Also connected with the heart a little bit, which I'll talk about, but just we don't want anyone to not like us because we're so wrapped up in not feeling good enough that we can like overcompensate for that. We feel worthless at times. The self-esteem can feel really low. We can be really easily hurt by the things that people say. This is really a sign that there's low energy or vitality here. On the opposite side, if it's overactive, there's lots of fire. These people are the ones that do not like to compromise. You go out to dinner and you better go where they go. You better do what they want. There can be like a pushiness here, and people can tend to be quite judgmental in this area. Also find too that there can be a tendency to anger easily just because of the high amount of fire, and because there's so much fire here, these people are go, 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 and you'll notice that there tend to be the workaholics, the perfectionists, these types of folk. So what do we do if we've got too much or too little? Okay, so too little, what you want to do is try to increase the fire in your body. So, the most important thing, I think, in any of this chakra work is not just sitting home and doing your yogic techniques, but like getting off your butt and doing something in the physical that makes a difference. And for people that have low fire, it's like you have to step into the fire of those confrontations and not just let things slide past you because I want to be a nice person, I want to appear spiritual, blah, blah, blah. This is not how you become a leader. You have to be able to stand up for yourself. You have to be able to say, hey, that is actually, I'm not going to enable that behavior. I'm not going to sit here and allow you to keep hurting yourself. No, I care enough about you to be able to stand up and say it. And it's coming from that place where you feel like you care enough about the person, you love them, you want to help them. Not that you're just sending venom and like judging them. Oh, you're this and that, It's like, no, actually, I don't want you to keep going in these loops, so I'm going to stand up and say this hard thing. So super important. You have to do something in the physical for all of this stuff. But to build that fire in the first place, there's a couple things that you can do to help. And I say even doing these before you have to go into the difficult conversations is really helpful. So if we think about what brings heat, we could say the sun. So in India, they call the sun Surya, and they have these different techniques with the name Surya that help to bring solar energy into the body so that you can stand tall, have lots of light and strength. So the first one's very easy that you can do just sitting in your chair. It's called Surya Bedana, which is like the sun-piercing breath. So on our body, our noses can actually, the way we breathe, can either ignite the heat or it can ignite the cool. So the heating or the solar side is on our right nostril and the lunar side is on the left. So if I focus on breathing in through the right side, I'm actually stimulating the heat in my body. So there's a few different ways I've seen Surya Bedana taught. Very simple for beginners would be to put your hands, whatever the dominant hand is. So I tuck the first two fingers in, and you can see the last two fingers are up in my thumb. I begin by plugging the left nostril because I don't want to activate the lunar side. And I simply breathe in through the right, plug, and exhale through the left. So you can continue to do this for 1 to 3 minutes. If you're used to yogic breathing, you can increase the heating aspect by inhaling through the nose, holding, and then doing a chin lock, releasing and exhaling. This is much more stimulating, so please don't practice this if you have any heart disease because it can really increase the fire quite quickly. So heart disease, anything to do with the heart, please don't practice this. Also too, it can be quite a masculine-inducing kind of breath. So if you're a woman and you're really trying to step into your femininity, be careful with this. Do not use it too much every day or you'll notice you'll start to have that hot fire masculine energy. So like I said, it's really good to use before you have to step into the fire. Another activity you can use is called Surya Namaskar, which is the sun salutations, which you can look online to find different moves, when you're stretching your body, and it basically helps to activate the spine and to bring solar energy into the body. It's like a salutation to the sun. And I like to practice this when I'm in a place that there's a lot of rain, like coastal living where I used to live. I would practice this, especially during the winter months when the sun was really low. And this is when you can have seasonal affectation disorder, these sort of things. And if you take a sadhana, a practice of say 1 month of doing, 4 or 5 salutations every day where you're bringing the solar energy into your body, this also helps to increase your fire. So really good. The other heating breath work you can do is simply the breath of fire, which is just forceful exhalations, not where you're like blowing so hard that there's things flying out of your nose, but this is where I'm relaxed, my shoulders are relaxed, and I'm just focusing on the exhalation. And again, you can do this for anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes. Women that are pregnant, I recommend not to do this. It's a bit stimulating for the body, so I would do something simple, just like 1 to 3 minutes of just the breathing in, but not with retentions, because again, you don't want to stress yourself in any way. Okay, so what happens if you have too much fire? Well, what can you do to cool down? What cools fire? Jumping in the water, getting in the bath, having a shower, these sorts of things. And I didn't mention in the last one, to increase your fire, cold showers also does that as well. Okay, so going back. So don't have cold showers if you're already super fiery, because it just stimulates your fire. Just have a normal, warm shower is fine. Also too, if you have seen my video previous for the sacral chakra, you can do what's called super brain yoga, and there's instructions in there on how to do it. What this does is take the built up energy in the navel and brings it up towards the upper centers, and helps to stimulate, and using that heat energy to stimulate the throat, the agya, and the crown. So please review that video to see that. And no hot sauce. Isn't it funny that fire people love hot sauce? And last one, as I mentioned before, the Surya Vedana, which stimulates the sun. You can do the Chandra Vedana, which is the lunar stimulating side. So you just flip. You start with the right nostril plugged, breathing in through the left. Switch, exhale. I'd recommend on this one not to do retentions, simply because the retentions, when you're holding, it actually stresses the heart a little bit and creates more fire. We want it to be a cooling breath. So simply just breathing in through the nose, switching and exhaling for 1 to 3 minutes is fine. There are some breaths that are quite cooling as well, where you can curl the tongue if you're able to, and just simply breathe in through the tongue, exhale. Then this cools all the blood vessels in the tongue. If you can't do that because of your genetics, you can simply breathe in through the teeth. And that actually is amazingly cool. I got trapped one time on a mountainside in Thailand with no water, and that actually saved me doing that breath over and over, because I was overheating and in a bad way because we were lost. It was scary. So that actually cooled my mind, cooled my body, cooled my emotions. So I highly recommend that breath as well. Shitali and Shikari, I believe they're called. It's been a while. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in to the navel. Solar plexus will be next, and hopefully you enjoy that. And if you're enjoying everything that you're seeing and want to continue, please click subscribe and like it if you like it. Awesome. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, and may the solar power just radiate from you.